February! Happy Groundhog Day! I'm recording this and posting it on Groundhog Day. I have a thing for Groundhog Day, in case you didn't know. You probably know, because I've written about it on my newsletter. It's in the spring transition module. I've posted it on Facebook every year, pretty much. So I just like the symbolism of it. And I think it's funny that good Christians who think that divination is evil enjoy the heck out of Groundhog Day. I think Groundhog Day is most definitely a form of divination. It is the divining shadow, and it's about predicting the future. So I think, I don't know, I just get a kick out of that. I like to take from that symbolism because that is something that is modern and relevant that I grew up in. It's part of my culture, and that makes more sense to me when I'm celebrating the spring transition than drinking ewe's milk, for example. Like, I don't even know where there is a ewe, and I certainly wouldn't know how to milk it. So I kind of do a mishmash of what appeals to me and what speaks to me from Candlemas, Imbolc, and Groundhog Day around this time. But I'm excited because spring comes early around here, so we're already seeing the little first signs of spring popping up. If anybody knows what that is behind me, I keep seeing it in the camera. Could you let me know? It's very cute. Let's see. Look, it's got a little heart on it, which is appropriate for this month's theme, but I don't know what that guy is. He wasn't labeled, but I loved him, so I brought him home. He's got like these are like thicker, wider versions of the leaves you would find on a spider plant, and then kind of the same consistency maybe in a philodendron, those heart-shaped leaves. But then it has like this funky, thick, I don't know what to call this. Is it a trunk? Is it a tree? Does anybody know? I know you're such plant lovers out there. A lot of you are. So if you know, could you tell me please, so I can learn how to take proper care of it and not kill it. I'm trying to keep it alive. So yeah, this started with another ramble, but I would like to tell you before I ramble further that the theme, I have a theme for February. I did not have a theme for January because I wasn't inspired by any one thing. I thought I'll just talk about what I want to talk about when I want to talk about it. And so that's kind of how I rolled through January. But for February, I shall be talking about love. Love! I'm not necessarily going to talk about, how to find your soulmate. Maybe I will. There's somebody I would like to ask that specializes in that. But she's pretty popular, so I don't know if I can snag her for an interview, but I will try. But I just want to talk about love of life, like loving your life. I want to talk some about self-love, obviously, but that's just become such a popular thing to talk about in February that I'm definitely going to do a broader reach with love. It's interesting. I did my last newsletter, I got some pushback, and it was called The Magic of Love. And I'm not really sure why I would get pushback when I was talking about, can we be gentle with each other? Can we be gentle with our friends that we disagree with and our family members? And I just sort of propose this idea of being soft and gentle and loving with strangers. Someone's trying to cut you off in traffic and you're not gonna let them in for no other reason other than just you're not gonna let them in. But they've been sitting there and trying to get in and nobody will let them in. And to me, an act of love is to just chill, let that go, smile at the person and wave them in. That is an act of love. So I was kind of challenging people to look for different ways to take action in the name of love, I guess, in their lives, and people did not want to hear it. I said nothing about politics, but I have a feeling some of the pushback was about that, because there's a lot of people who do not want to love thy neighbor as thyself right now. That is something that's part of the reason why talking about love is really interesting to me right now, because I'm not going to talk about politics here. I'm not going to tell you what to think about politics here. But for me, going back to the basics of law of attraction and practicing gratitude and concentrating on what I love about my life has been the antidote to everything that's going on in the political arena. Yes, I have my opinions. Yes, I think I'm right. I think I know the truth, even though people who disagree with me think they know the truth. And the news is just predominant. It's everywhere right now, and it's hitting us like boom, boom, boom all day long, and people are really getting divided. I found myself getting divided within myself because I would have this one voice that was like, we can't look away because we have to know what's happening. We have to bear witness. We have to be active. We have to participate. Then there was this other part that was like, but what about the vortex? What about creating the kick-ass life of your dreams? And, if you spend all that time getting sucked down the negativity hole, like, you're going to become that. And I did not want to become that. I noticed, I get most of my news from Twitter. I have, as I've talked about, I have lists. So usually instead of following someone, I put them on one of these lists. So if I want to see what witches are up to, I go and look at my witch list. And then I get just those people in my feed. If I want to see what's going on with politics, I have journalists I trust, newspapers I trust, MSNBC, which I trust and love. I have those kind of things in my politics list, and I go check that out. So, but I noticed what was happening was when I was spending too much time sitting there like scrolling through my feed to catch up on the news, there was my scrolling hand, and then the other hand was like this, like a tight fist, and I wasn't breathing completely. And I started picking up on this, I think in December, and just noticing like, I'm like physically holding like this tension in my hand and my chest and probably all over. And that's when I was like, I think I need to like get back to the basics here. So I have been reading lots of Louise Hay, which to me is just, it's so simple that I think it's easy to get excited about it in the beginning. If you're new to positive affirmations and self-love and all of that, it's easy to like go there and get excited about it and then move on and be like, well, it's so basic, but it's basic for a reason. It's foundational. It's primary. In fact, that could be your entire practice. Just gratitude, self-love, positive affirmations. I have a much broader idea about what that encompasses. I don't think you have to use like these traditional classic affirmations, and I think you're gonna be okay if your every single thought is absolutely perfectly in alignment with what you want. But that stuff does help to reprogram your mind and to direct your focus. And I think, where focus goes, energy flows. So if you are having thoughts that are in alignment with what you want to create, that creates the emotion and activates the heart chakra, and hopefully it gets you into action and you're on your way. If you're thinking a lot of scary thoughts and if you're in a place of fear and hatred or anger or anything like that, that affects your heart too. That affects your actions as well. It has a trickle-down effect in either way you look at it. So I do think that I know that these basic practices, I know it's not as exciting for a lot of you as like witchcraft, but I'm telling you, there is magic in love, in just simply learning to love your life. And I'm going to be talking about that in February. And I, again, did not mean to go on this rant. I'm very warm in here. Speaking of spring coming early, we had all this weather. Like, it was amazing. We had, I don't even know, a week and a half or so of rain, but like amazing rain, like real rain in California, in Los Angeles. If you're on Twitter, you might notice every time it rains here, LA rain, that hashtag is trending. It's because it's so exciting and we've been in a drought for so long. But quite a few people have lost their homes to this last batch of rain because we have mudslides, and these houses in the Hollywood Hills, they start sliding down the hill, and it creates a lot of chaos. People also don't know how to drive here in the rain because it rains so seldom. So you're likely to get stuck in some traffic when it starts raining. But anyway, it was coming down like a waterfall. The day when it was the strongest, Tanner and I had to go, my son, if you don't know, we had to go to the grocery store. And running from my house to the car, by the time we got in the car, it looked like we had ran through a car wash. We were soaking wet. And I had promised him, we've recently discovered that Coffee Bean, they have lattes with unsweetened almond milk and coconut milk combined. Oh my God. Oh my goddess. They're so delicious. And we waited a long time for this Coffee Bean and Tea Leaf to open up next door to our Trader Joe's. So we've had a couple now in like celebration of like, yay, it's opening. And these are the best things ever. They're so delicious. So I lured Tanner to the grocery store with me with the promise that after we got our groceries, we would get lattes. So we're in the car, we're soaking wet, like soaking wet. And we went grocery shopping like that. And then we each had 2 like heavy bags of groceries. And it was just coming down so hard that walking through the parking lot to put the groceries away and then walking back to Coffee Bean, we might drown. Like we needed as little of walking in the rain as possible. So we ran around really quick to get into Coffee Bean with our groceries. And then both of us had 2 bags of groceries and we're balancing lattes and running out to the car. And by the time we got out to the car, the cup, like the top of the cup, it has that little divot. It was like a swimming pool. It was just full of rain and our bags were wet. So we then had to carry the bags from the bottom. Anyway, it was very, 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 very rainy. And I am going somewhere with this, but I also have to just quickly interject that we had hail as well. The next day we had hail, and I think I can count on one hand the times in my life that I have experienced hail. So I'm gonna tell you about it, and you can laugh at me all you want. Yes, I am a Los Angeles, California girl, and I think hail is exciting. So that day it had stopped raining, but there were puddles everywhere, but it had been dry for like 4 or 5 hours, and I was walking my son to this evening program he goes to, and I was thinking, oh my God, I am such a California snowflake. Like, I am freezing cold. There is no way it is as cold as I think it is. Like, I have been fully so acclimated to the weather that like I can't even handle, like the slightest chill. It just felt like I was in like the Arctic to me. That's what I was feeling. So I walk him into the program. I maybe was in there 10 seconds. Goodbye, Tanner. I turn around to leave, and the guy at the front desk goes, be careful out there. I was like, okay, I will. Why is he telling me this? And then I opened the door, and it was just insane hail. It was like God had a leaf blower, but instead of air, he was like just pelting us with this pea-sized hail, and it was coming down so hard. And of course I did not think to stand there and watch the hail. I decided to run out to my car in the hail. Keep in mind, I'm very inexperienced with hail, so I get into my car after getting pelted with all this hail, and I was so excited I had to call my dad. And I had my dad on speakerphone, and we're screaming and yelling at each other because the hail's hitting the car so hard. We can't hear anything. I'm like, I can't hear you! I can't hear you! This is amazing! We have hail! So that was all exciting. Now it's green, 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 green everywhere, and sunny and beautiful, which brings me back around to saying why I'm hot, because it's getting later in the day and this room is starting to cook. And I have this on because it's the month of love, and I really love this sweater. It's very cutesy. It's not super flattering on, but I don't care. Some days you want to look like a stone cold fox, and other days you just want to look like a hug, and this looks like a hug. I love it. So the other thing about the rain is, believe me, all the times I've said that I live in a very old, over 100-year-old house that has not been well maintained. I rent this house. It is extraordinarily expensive to live here. But we get a lot for what we pay for Los Angeles and for this neighborhood, but our landlord does not take good care of our house at all. Many problems around here, and I just like fix them up and make it look as nice as I can. But a couple years ago, they put a new door in our laundry room, but it was never finished and it was never painted. So it's just raw wood. And in these big crazy rains, the wood, we leave that door open for our cats to go in and out, especially when it's raining, because they have their own room. They have a laundry room. There's cat beds in there. There's shelving they can climb on, food and water, and litter box and the whole thing. So, but they kept pushing the door open and it kept getting rained on. Like they were pushing it out further than just the little bit we had it open for them to walk through. And the door swelled up so much that we could not close the door to leave or come or go. So a couple times I just left the house unlocked and just like took my chances, even though you should not do that if you live in Los Angeles. It was so funny. And then once I did get it closed, I had to kick it and kick it and kick it and kick it to finally get it closed. So we were just like sneaking out other doors that don't, that's the only door we have that locks with the key. The other doors you can only go out, but you can't go in with the key. Does that make sense? Anyway, I have a point. So after the rain, after several days of dry, sunny weather, I decided to paint the door so that would not happen again, because we have more rain coming, hopefully. We're supposed to have more rain coming and we need it. So I got red paint. I got red paint with primer to seal the door, and I painted all around the door. But what is exciting about this to me is I made it very witchy. I've always wanted a red door, FYI. I just think red doors are cool. There is red door symbolism from all around the world. We just had Chinese New Year, and having a red door in China is a very auspicious thing. And is that the right word that I mean? I don't know. But I painted my red door for fortune and protection, and I did it very witchy. I got like this light colored pencil, and I drew all my favorite symbols on it, a pentacle and some other personal symbols, and then I wrote this spell like down the length of the door to keep out the bad guys and keep in the love. And then I painted the whole thing very mindfully. I filmed some of that for you. I don't know how well I did. I haven't looked at that footage yet, but I will tack that on here at the end so you can see my red door. There's like a shabby house falling down around this lovely red door now. And I was so, another reason I wanted to work with love in February is I have been bumping up a lot of resistance in my own life, and I've been noticing it everywhere. So I first noticed it in really big things. Like I had 3 main goals that I needed to achieve in January, and I did not achieve any of them. I made progress on them, but I did not achieve them. I have to put them on February, which totally bums me out. Like that I have to move those goals to February because I did not achieve them in January, and I did not achieve them for no good reason other than just pure resistance. Like I was in it. And I had to practice a lot of like self-compassion and self-love so I wouldn't totally beat up on myself and get pissed off about it. And the progress I made was more toward the end of the month when I was like, okay, love yourself through this. What's this about? I think when you bump up against resistance, it's really important just to get very curious instead of judgmental. Like, why is this happening? What is this about? What is this related to? And can I love myself anyway? And so I always do these themes based on what I'm feeling and what I want to talk about, more than kind of it's not like some premeditated, manipulative, like, this is what we're going to be teaching in February. It's more like, this is what I want to talk about because this is what I'm exploring right now. And then why the door reminds me of that is because once I was aware that I had all this resistance, I was noticing it come up around all kinds of things, little things, dumb things like painting a door red. I've always wanted a red door. I knew I was going to paint the door. And I was in Home Depot buying the paint and the supplies and trying to talk myself out of it because I was scared that I wasn't going to do a good job, or I was going to get paint everywhere, or what if it looks weird, or what if I close the door and then paint is everywhere and I can't get it off. Like, I just had strange resistance, but it was like a real resistance. Like, I was ready to walk out of the store and not do this. And just a little weird thing. Another thing that I have footage of that I will tack on, again, I haven't looked at the footage yet, but it does exist. So I think I will be able to tack it on to the end here. I'm going to put it on the end, the final bit of this video for those of you who do not want anything to do with this. The Women's March. The Women's March Tanner and I went to in Los Angeles was amazing. And very loving, by the way, for people who are kind of gossiping about how people were angry. It was not like that at all. There were 750,000 people there. We were all mushed in together and everybody was filled with love. Really, it was like radiating with good vibes. Everybody was kind. There was no violence. There was no screaming and yelling. There was singing, there was chanting, there was drumming, there were the most amazing, cool, like, costumes, which I did not expect. And my very favorite moment was when I saw a ginormous paper mache, I think it was paper mache, Athena come walking toward me. And it was like as tall as 2 or 3 people standing on each other's shoulders. But like I didn't get close enough to see who was operating it, but there was a human person operating it. And this Athena was like walking through like a parade float. And if you know me, you know, like, Athena is my girl. I love Athena. And I could not believe there was Athena. She had the Medusa breastplate and the armor, and I did film that, but I wasn't super duper close, so I don't know how good that footage is, but I was thrilled. But again, I could not wait to go to this. I really wanted to go to this. I wanted to bring my son, but as it got closer, I started resisting and having fears, big fears, like, what if there is violence? You know, what if something horrible happens and I'm there with my son? So I would say that's a legitimate fear. But then I had a lot of dumb resistance, like, where am I going to park? There's going to be nowhere to park, and I don't want to ride on a city bus. I've never ridden on a city bus. Like, what's it like to ride on a city bus? And it was like $1.75. We have to have exact change to ride the bus. I mean, just dumb little silly bits of resistance that really had me wondering, like, am I actually going to do this? Like, I really want to do this. I want to be a part of this history. I believe in the cause. I want to be there. And am I going to talk myself out of something that matters to me? I've done that many times in the past. And I just refuse to be that person anymore. I want to live the kick-ass life of my dreams. I want to make myself proud. I want to make myself have a sense of trust between me and me, where it's like, you know, like, we're going to do this thing that you want to do, Joanna, because I know you want to do it and I know you're scared, and we're going to do it anyway. So that was a big deal to me. And my son loved it. He had a blast. And you don't know the way he talks, really, because you don't live with him, but he's really been expanding his language lately. And he said something funny that I've never heard him say. He just looked at me in the middle of it and he said, "I'm really enjoying myself." Which cracked me up. I've never heard him say that before. So anyway, my feet again are falling asleep. Oh no, my little light just... The lighting is so sketchy. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. Same with the audio. I just go with the flow and do the best I can. What else did I want to talk about? Oh my god, I have to tell you, well, 2 things. Chinese New Year just happened, which you probably already know. And that's partly what inspired the red door. But I was all excited to go to the infamous Chinese New Year parade that we have here in Chinatown. There's one I think that happens in Alhambra, maybe. And then the Americana, where I live, does a big, just kind of day of celebration where they have dancers and like this dragon parade, and there's huge Chinese lanterns everywhere. So I was all excited to go do that for Chinese New Year, and for some weird reason, they all are doing it on the 4th, on Saturday. So I don't have any footage of that because it hasn't happened yet, and I had to pick, like, which one am I going to go to? I think Chinatown would be probably the most authentic and cool, but again, LA, traffic, parking. So we're going to go to the Americana, we're going to eat some Din Tai Fung, Chinese food, and then we're just going to enjoy the parade and the dancers. They're going to do face painting and stuff, and they decorate it beautifully. It's really fun. So Chinese New Year. And then the other thing is, I've already announced this on Patreon and on my podcast. If you listened to the last Tuesday's podcast, and you noticed something was weird about the sound, you were correct. If it was so bad that you couldn't listen to it, but you still want to hear what I was saying, just, if you're listening with headphones, just take one of the headphones off, because it's perfect in one ear and like quiet and echoey in the other ear. For some reason, it recorded in mono. I don't know why. I have no idea what I did to make that happen, or if something was broken or glitchy, but that's how it came out, and I didn't know until some very nice people told me the sound was really weird. So I was like, it sounded perfectly fine to me because I was listening on speakers. So if you listened on speakers, but if you're trying to listen like at work or in your car on headphones, it probably sounded a little odd and like I was talking in a can. That's why. But I announced in that show and to Patreon that I have decided to indefinitely put on hold the healing magic of food. So those of you who've been waiting for that, or listening to me talk about how it's coming down the pipeline and I'm making these videos, I did make many videos for that. And I have a lot of the content already created. I don't know if I even have the energy to get into why. Again, I've already explained it on Patreon and in that podcast, like why. But in a nutshell, I can't do all things, and I just want to do what's bringing me ultimate joy and what is in alignment with really the messaging of like kind of psycho-spiritual magic and the different ways that you can create the kick-ass life of your dreams. I really just want to stay on the trajectory I'm on, get this book proposal done that I've been working on, and really just focus on the psycho-spiritual wheel of the year, and then all of these other things that I do, the podcasts, the videos, the blogs, the newsletter. It's a lot. And the healing magic of food deserves to be its own business. And it's high maintenance, because when people are working that intensely with their diet, they need feedback, they need help, they have questions. And I just realized I'm not feeling excited about this. I'm not feeling good about this. I'm feeling burdened by it. And so I let that go as I was coming into the new year. That's why all that clarity and these very like clear goals that I had that came up, I think I wasn't in touch with the resistance I had around getting those goals done, meeting those goals, until I cut away the healing magic of food, and I was like confronted with, okay, you made the time for these goals that you have, so now why aren't you doing it? And it was just pure resistance. So that kind of circles back around to that. And I don't know what other footage I have for you besides the door and the parade, or the Women's March, but I'll put the Women's March last for those of you who don't want to see it, and I'll put the door first for those of you who care about my red door. And I hope you have an amazing February. I have a special guest coming on the podcast for Valentine's Day, and she is someone that I know you all love. So stay tuned for that, because it's going to be really sweet. I already recorded it, so I already know it's going to be really sweet. And until we meet again, much love. Peace. Saturn on Saturday. Saturn just sucked me back in on a Saturday, and I'm spending my morning in bed obsessing on Saturn. This is Liz Green's book,
And this is the piece that is blowing my mind that I want to share with you today. It goes very well with the whole concept of like attracts like and the law of attraction. Saturn as the lord of karma. Karma is simply the substance within the personality which attracts circumstances in the outer world according to its inner quality. Blowing my mind. I've had many blowing my mind moments this morning, but I wanted to share that one with you. Happy Saturday! Woohoo! Here is my door. This is my back door, which is really the front door, and I've got it all taped off. I'm a little bit nervous about painting it red, but I think it's gonna be cool. Here we go! I hope I do a good job. Of course, I have lots of awesome witchy symbolism built in. I wrote a spell and wrote it on the door, and now we are going to seal it in. Woo, that's red. It looks kind of pink on camera, but it's actually like it's a dark red. Whee! I now have a red door. I have a red door. I have a red door. I have to pull the tape off still, but it's drying, but look at me, I have a red door. I have a red door. Early morning, the sun is shining, and we are waiting at the bus. We're waiting for a ride downtown, right, buddy?
Yeah.
Oh, have to stop for Lady Justice. Because you can't have a women's march without lots and lots and lots and lots of porta potties. Can you see that? That's the moon. We're going to be marching under the sun and the moon on a beautiful day, sandwiched in between two of the rainiest days LA has ever seen. It's sort of like divine intervention. We get sun for the march. We got the LAPD on board because the LAPD is awesome and they're here to keep everybody safe. A woman's place in the revolution. You're awesome. Love the men. Love the men. Athena with Medusa on her breastplate right there. My girl! Woohoo!